Thank you for joining me for this Ujjayi yoga breathing practice. You can do this video alone, but there are two other videos that are preparatory that you might find useful. One, a seated brief meditation, and the second, a gentle stretching practice that will help open the sides and the ribs and the torso to make it a little easier to breathe. So I'm sitting on a lift, and I would suggest that you do that too. Oftentimes when we begin our Ujjayi practice, when someone is learning this, we do it lying down. I'm going to be sitting, and you may have noticed if you did the other videos, I've changed shirts. And the reason is I'm wearing something revealing underneath here, but so that you can really see what's going on with the ribs and the chest in this. So the first thing I just want to say a couple of parameters. One, you might want to have a tissue nearby because sometimes weird stuff happens with boogies. You might want to even just kind of blow your nose or wipe your nose out before you start. Keep that nearby. And then some other precautions about breath practices. So part of why I'm doing this as a morning series is it's really best to do a proper Ujjayi or any pranayama, any breath practice on an empty stomach. It's even better if you've already gone to the bathroom, and I mean number two. If you haven't, don't worry, don't freak out, but we're trying to kind of empty things out so that there's no negative effect with what's happening here. Now, one more thing is why? Why do we do this? Why do we breathe like this? Ujjayi, it means victorious or kind of upward rising. And the way I like to think about this is kind of the fundamental yoga breath. This upward rising idea is that prana, like sometimes people call it like chi or vitality, that the breath, this life force rather that comes in with the breath, it rises and it falls. Now we're working to deepen our capacity with this like invigorating vitality. So this inhale will often hold and let that vitality kind of circulate through the body. And as we hold, we're not only building the capacity to hold more, to increase our vitality, we're also kind of like building up our reserves so that we have a little bit more stored up in the bank for later. So yes, there's a downward current of energy for sure, but we're going to work a little bit with that, like filling, opening, and holding back just a little bit. Okay, so when you sit, the reason you sit upright is to keep space and length for the spine. You can put your hands on your legs right now. I know mine are kind of off the frame. That's just so you can see my torso better, but you're going to push down gently with your hands on your knees and give a little energy of the legs as if they're pushing back up into your hands. Just like a subtle energy of muscular effort, and you'll feel your belly begin to tone. And what we want when we do a proper Ujjayi practice is for the belly to stay a little bit toned as opposed to popping forward. So here's where it's going to be useful for you to see. You probably never seen my belly before, but here we go. So what often happens for people when they breathe is the belly pushes forward. So if I turn from side and I breathe in like that, it pops the belly out and down. Now that's not a wrong thing. Sometimes it's good to do belly breathing. That's probably better if you're working on kind of stress relief versus building vitality. What we're doing today is we're going to keep some engagement in this lower part of the belly between the pubic bone and the navel, which is like kind of where my pant line is. And instead, we're going to work to expand the ribs and the chest up and out. So this idea of pushing into the legs and getting the legs to work is just to trigger some engagement in the pelvic floor and the lower belly. So that said, exhale all the air out. Place your hands on your rib cage on the sides and see if you can keep a little tone in your belly and begin to push out with your ribs when you breathe in into your hands. Now, it's not that your lower belly doesn't move a little, but we're trying to use that muscular energy so that the pressure in the torso rises toward the chest, right? That rising up breath. And when you exhale, exhale out your mouth. That's not the traditional Ujjayi, but just try that, like you're fogging up a glass. And feel how your ribs draw down and in. Breathe in and see if you can expand your ribs out to the sides and your chest can roll up towards your chin. Right now, you're really just playing with what's moving and trying to get some awareness of this rib cage, kind of, it's like the bottom edge of where my sports bra is, and then the chest versus just the belly. And as you continue with this, we'll move a little deeper. It might be helpful for you to close your eyes as long as you feel safe to do so that you can really focus in, and that breathing out through the mouth. Halfway through that or so, close your lips and breathe through your nose, and you'll hear the sound that I've been making. And we'll take a few breaths just focusing on the movement of the ribs, not the low belly, on both inhales and exhales. Keep going with your breathing. Begin to listen to the sound of your own breath. Keep the torso lifted, a little engagement in the low belly, but let the head release down or forward towards the chest. And use your sense of hearing, this deeper knowing, this deeper awareness, and see if you can refine the sound of the Ujjayi. We're constricting the throat slightly when we breathe like this. We're narrowing the passage of air so that the breath gets longer and we can bring more prana in. And what you want to hear is that from the beginning of the breath to the end of the breath, it sounds similar. So for most people, the exhale is really fast at the beginning, and the end they're kind of running out of gas, like hold back just a little bit at the beginning of your exhale or the beginning of your inhale so that you can stretch your capacity. And again, keep a broad lift in the chest. And if it's helpful, you can watch as I breathe and maybe learn how the lower belly, not so much movement, and what's happening in the chest. If you're not watching or you're watching, either way, start to notice the little gap of pause between the inhale and the exhale. Let's try that now. As you continue with your Ujjayi practice, those pauses between the breaths, you can begin to use your intuition, your sense of awareness to feel what's happening in the energetic body, the inner body. To feel when that pause happens, how long to hold it, how much work you need to be doing in the muscles to hold. And the hint is as little as possible, but enough. And when to let go and let the exhale occur. So just take one more cycle, slow and deep through the nose, softening the tongue away from the roof of the mouth. Pausing full, holding enough energy that it's strong and sharp and attentive, not so much that it's stressful or tensing. And then a controlled exhale, holding back just a little bit at the beginning of the breath so that you get to stretch it out nice and long. When you're empty of breath, pausing again and just listening with this ocean of your inner awareness to how long to do that. And then let go of all effort. No more work to hold the belly in or to sit up super tall. Just settle in to your own seat. Or perhaps lie down and take a mini shavasana. Thank you so much for learning about the breath and practicing with me. We've taken it out of the asana just as a seated practice, but you can do this breath while you're doing yoga poses. So maybe next time you do a practice, give that a try. Try to bring this deeper awareness of yourself and your breath to what you're doing. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.